feels good. It feels good to stretch, do some lunges. I don't even know. But
Yes.
man, oh man, feels good to be back. Oh my goodness, episode 268. Oh boy, we're gonna be talking about all the latest and greatest D23 news, right? And there was
Woo!
a lot.
Oh my gosh, everything Marvel, and then of course all kinds of new stuff that we didn't even know was in the makes. Incredibles 3, Frozen 3, like what? Just that, yeah, oh my gosh, don't even get me started. We're so excited to talk about that. But we've also got some recent news. Deadpool and Wolverine just continues to smash records. That thing's like a juggernaut, just keeps on going. We've got that. There's some bad news for Disney too, and it involves a couple other studios. The just complete downfall of Warner Brothers continues. That thing we've got news on that, and not good news. Paramount, what's going on there? They're trying to restructure. They're trying to get ready for that buyout that's happening pretty soon. So we've got that. Kevin Costner, you might be able to see his film a little bit sooner than you thought. Man, so much stuff going on. And then, of course, it ends with us. But apparently not behind the scenes. It's still going on, and it's nasty. And it's a bad... We're going to talk all about that. So much good stuff, man. You know, it seems like every day something is happening that we've got an opinion on. It's just fact.
It's true, man. It's true. So much, so good, so bad. All the things, all the in between, man. Oh, man. We're super excited to talk about it. So let's get into it. Hello, everyone. So you want to start a podcast but have no idea where to start? Well, Crazy Ant Media is here to help you. We want to assist you finding your VFE. What's VFE, you ask? Well, that is your voice, your format, and your equipment. These are the 3 biggest essentials you need to start your podcast. All those hours watching non-stop YouTube videos or all those random website links, those are done. Just hop on a Zoom call with us and we'll talk about everything you need to know to create your own podcast and find your voice. Plus, we will send you home with a 12-page packet over everything we just discussed. It's very in-depth. It is definitely a must-need while trying to start your first podcast. Contact us at info@crazyantmedia.com today so that you can start finding your podcast voice for tomorrow. What's up, guys? Oh my goodness. Like I said earlier, episode 268. Oh, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. We've been around this long, but we're keep rocking and rolling, chugging forward, chugga, choo, choo.
Yes, the train is on the track still. It hasn't gone off. It hasn't derailed. Like, I can't believe, literally, I was kind of timing it out, and not too soon, just like right, kind of, sort of, as soon as 2025 begins, sort of right in that little, we're going to hit 300 episodes. 300 episodes. That's absurd to me. Like, I just can't believe we've been doing it for that long and that we've been having this much fun and that we've been just like, it's been amazing. And the people that we've interviewed and the stories that we've broke, like we have been on it over the years, y'all. If you haven't been listening to us and see us predict this shit, go back and listen to our early shows when we started like 6.5 years ago. Yeah, baby. Woo! And we predicted shit that is happening now. I mean, that's how good we are. I'm just gonna say pat on the back, because I'm just telling you, man. We are the go-to source if you want to know not just what's happening, but what's going to be happening. This is where you gotta be.
That's right. Oh my goodness. We're super excited to talk about all the stuff happening in Hollywood. But before getting into all of that, before telling you about the merchandise sales, all the good stuff, please be sure to leave a rating on this podcast. Comment below and tell us what you actually think about this show. Because if you didn't know, leave a rating on the podcast or commenting actually helps this podcast get seen by more people who enjoy entertainment news, but especially those who are trying to break into the entertainment industry. So help ourselves, help you, help all the good people out there trying to break into it.
Yes.
Man, oh man, we are here for you. And then, of course, be sure to visit our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can find out what's going on with our film projects, watch our other film that we already have out right now, Deadlines, and you can stay up to date with Everything's Okay, our mental health podcast, new episode of that dropping this upcoming week, and so much more. And then, of course, the merchandise. We have anything and everything you need over here at Crazy Ant Media. Right now, it's a 15% off everything in the store, so be sure to get over there while supplies last and get a little crazy with it.
Yeah,
that's
man.
for sure, man. So we're super excited because, of course, you guys know we start off with Disney every single week. That is the Mouse House, the juggernaut, the #1 entertainment studio in Hollywood. Man, oh man, they keep breaking records because Deadpool and Wolverine is now the highest grossing rated R movie of all time, finally surpassing Warner Brothers Discovery and DC Studios' The Joker.
Yes.
Joker. Man, oh man. I mean, this comes by no surprise. Everybody's been tracking it, seeing how far it's going to go, and I think it can only keep growing from here. I know I'm going to try to get Emily to get out this weekend and see it because she hasn't seen it yet.
Yes.
I'm surprised she stayed away from all the freaking spoilers, but, you know, her stuff is, her algorithm's a little different than ours, so it only makes sense. It only makes sense. But I mean, this is great, man. I love to see this.
Well, and you know, I think literally right before we started recording this, I was watching, and it's the crowd reaction to when he puts on the mask. And so now they're releasing all that kind of stuff, right? They're releasing the crowd reactions to the fight scene, and they're releasing the crowd reactions to the mask and to the cameos. And I think that's playing heavily into its long success at the like its continued legs, because people are getting fired up. They want, even if you've already seen it, you want to go see it again because you watch it and you get fired up to go see it again. And I just this thing it is. When we talked about, we thought it would be the catapult to the return of Marvel's supremacy. We weren't kidding. I mean, this thing came at $211 million opening weekend, 50+ million the third weekend. It's crazy how much money this thing is making. And anybody, I just want to emphasize this too, because anybody who was talking about all that crap about superhero fatigue and people are over it and they were never really everything everybody thought they were. Let's put this into perspective, okay? Out of the top 100 movies all time, money-making movies of all time, 100, 26 of them are superhero movies. 26 of them, a quarter of them. And within that, 6 of them are in the top 10. So, and then if you break it down even further for opening weekends, all-time opening weekends, out of the top 20 biggest opening weekends of all time, 12 of them are superhero movies. And that's not just Marvel, that's DC too. But so this idea that, they were never that big, or, people were tired of them, I mean, that's a lot of money and a lot of records for movies that people are over. Like no, this is the start of something really great again. I think it's gonna, we've talked about it. Kevin Feige and Bob Iger got that shit straight. They're like back to, and yeah, I could not be more happy. And I'm that guy. I was watching that particular crowd reaction clip because I was that guy. I was screaming too when the mask came on. We've been waiting forever for that mask to be on in that costume, man. I love it. And so, yeah, I'm so happy for this film. I'm happy for Marvel. I'm happy for Disney. And it only makes sense that when we jump down into D23, there was so much more Marvel news because they know.
Oh yeah, for sure, without a doubt. And I mean, I'm super excited about everything for the future for Marvel because they have a lot riding on this slate. But I still hold strong to, I don't think the peak will ever pass Endgame. I don't think they'll ever break that domestic box office record with 351 million, I think it was.
Yeah, the opening weekend.
I mean, it'll be interesting with, the new Avengers coming out and the Phase 6 with Doomsday and Secret Wars. But I don't know if it'll ever top that. It would be amazing if it did, but I mean, we'll see, right?
I think Secret Wars has a chance to, only because that will be the convergence, much like Endgame was, where you're going to get them all. You're going to get all the
Yeah.
new Avengers. You're going to get Thunderbolts. You're going to get, the Fantastic Four. You're going to get the X-Men. You're going to get, Deadpool. You're going to, all of the people that you've been waiting to see in one movie at one time. Secret Wars that's where it's going to happen. And I think that will be the same type, because like the first Avengers Endgame and Infinity War, this will be the first time you've ever seen all of those people in one spot, in one movie, fighting together. Right. So if there is a chance to beat that peak of Endgame, I think it's going to be Secret Wars that could do it. And then at the end of Secret Wars, guys, we'll definitively know who's sticking around and who isn't, because it will merge all of the universes and timelines into one, Earth Prime, and that'll be it. And so, sorry, spoilers, but I'm a comic book geek, and if you know anything about Secret Wars, that's where it's headed. But anyway, we'll know, and they'll all be in one Earth, and that will be the definitive Earth and timeline. So, I can't wait, man. I just can't fucking wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be freaking awesome. I'm excited to see where everything goes, and I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's dive into all of D23. We're gonna start off with all of the other Disney stuff, before heading into, the Marvel stuff and Star Wars. Mufasa.
Oh.
This was definitely a big one. A trailer was released officially.
Yes.
Because we know we saw some other things that were released that were a little unofficial, shot from an iPhone but Mufasa, I mean, this is definitely a great prequel in this Lion King franchise. I feel like you get to know a little bit more about Taka, who is Scar, who turns into Scar, and Mufasa's relationship and how that comes to be, and Mufasa actually being the orphan before taking the throne at Pride Rock. So I thought that was very interesting. Again, after seeing the trailer, it's still one of my top anticipated movies for this year. Overall, it was a great trailer, got you in your feels, made you remember what the reason was why we all fell in love with the Lion King in general. So I'm super excited about this trailer, excited about this project. The trailer was absolutely amazing. And it'll be interesting to see, though, if they'll continue making more Lion King spinoffs like this, because it all depends on the success of Mufasa, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if they continue to do that. Will they all be live action? Because, I mean, The Lion King, at the time that The Lion King came out, it was the biggest, most successful animated film of all time. And it really, in conjunction with The Little Mermaid, The Lion King, that relaunched Disney's supremacy in animation. They were the studio to beat at that point, right? And so it's interesting that they're kind of going all the live action. Will we see any more spin-offs in just 2D dimension, like animated?
Right.
I'm not that I don't like the live action. I'm with you. I thought the trailer looked just phenomenal. It was beautiful, and the storytelling and the technology is there now to make these things happen. But I like sitting down still in front of a good old-fashioned animated film, right? I mean, there's still a place for that. If you look at the Frozen franchise, people are still down for that. It doesn't have to be a live action to be successful. So I'm with you. Are there more spin-offs coming? And which direction do they go? Do we go more in the future? After, right? Because I like this, that they're going backwards and going, hey, let's show you the story prior to The Lion King and how that all went down. I like that. But I'd also like to see after with Timba and what afterwards. So I don't know, but I'm with you. I think it's going to do huge, and I'm excited for it, and I'll definitely be in the seats. And then this next one, we didn't even know it was coming. We didn't know, but it only makes sense because the first two. Well, the first one was the highest grossing animated film of all time prior to being knocked off by another Disney film. But we're talking about The Incredibles. And what a groundbreaking Pixar film that was. A superhero movie, but a family movie, and it was animated, and there was just it's so difficult to explain how incredible The Incredibles was. And then with that massive success, it made sense that it took so long to get Incredibles 2 to follow it up, right? Because you're like, man, how do we top that? It's got to be better than the first one or we don't make it, right? This is still when Disney was quality over quantity. It's got to be better than the first one or we don't get it. And then they did it, and it was better than the first one. They actually figured out how to make it even better. And now we find out 3 is coming. And at this point, Jack, is he a teenager at this point? Like, and the 2 kids, Dash and Violet, have to be like grown up right? So our mom and dad retired, and Dash and Violet, the superheroes now running the gig, or like, I'm so excited to find out where this story is going. Right. And this one's been a long time in the making as well, but I think it was for the same reasons. They needed to make sure that the story was there, because otherwise, why continue to tell these things if the story isn't there? If it's not going to make people as excited as the ones previous did. So it not much. It was pretty much just Brad Bird kind of gave you it's happening. It was about that.
I believe it's still in development.
Yeah,
so they're still trying to figure out all the pieces, where to put them, and so it's going to be very interesting. It's kind of like this next one too. It's still in the early stages of development, trying to figure it all out. And after one of the main characters seemed to have left, apparently they're coming back, right? I'm talking about Toy Story 5. That's right. Woody is coming back for another one. I mean, it's crazy. I really wasn't expecting like more than 3. After the third one, I mean, people loved the third one. I mean, that was a huge regarded film. But then you went into 4, which was a little bit different just because that was during pandemic time. So, I mean, I feel like it didn't necessarily have the global impact and the awe factor that the other 3 did. But I think they wanted to revisit this beloved franchise because of that, because they weren't able to close chapters properly with 4. So we're kind of on the same page with this one as we are Incredibles 3, where we learn that it's in development and we know that it's going to be the toys versus electronics, which I think is a very timely matter. Yeah. Because we see nowadays, I mean, you and I talk about it all the time. Latchkey kids being able to go outside and go and come as you please, being outside, playing with different toys. That doesn't really happen anymore because of electronics and apps. And, I mean, it's the day and age of the game if we are a society, but there's still those, happy memories you have with those toys and things like that. So I think that's what they're going to try to balance in the 5th installment of this franchise. But I'm excited for this one too. Yeah.
And I think this is a solid chance to, and I honestly believe that another main reason they're making this one is to rebound from Lightyear. That was a horrible marketing job. People didn't understand it. They thought it was something to do with Toy Story, but it wasn't something to do with Toy Story, and it just did not work. And that is all on Chapek and the push to get it out there and not marketing it. Because if you understood what the premise of that film was, it was actually a really good film. It was about the actual person that the Buzz Lightyear toy was made on, right? So, and if you understood that going into it, and it was the movie, that really made Andy want to buy Buzz Lightyear, the toy, because of the actual Buzz Lightyear, but it just was so bad. It was done so horribly, and I felt like just put out there quickly. And this is an opportunity, I feel, to take this franchise, like you said, and bring it back to its, okay, let's if this is going to be the last one, we're going to make sure we do this shit right. It's going to go out on a high note. It's going to be what people want. It's going to be, and I love the premise, right? Because I am old enough to remember when video games crept in. The first Atari, the first ColecoVision, the first, and how that slowly led to people putting down the action figures, putting down the toy soldiers, putting down and being in front of those screens. I'm old enough to remember that transition. So I think this story, like you said, I'm excited for the story. I'm excited to see how they do it. Will we see Andy's kids
Right.
Will Andy have to try to like break his kid away from the video games and reintroduce him to the glory of the toys? Like
Well,
that
who
would
knows?
be,
Because remember, in the third one, he dropped his toys off to the other little girl.
yeah.
So I mean, I don't even know if Andy's still in the picture anymore.
I
And what's sad is, like, I don't even remember a lot of Toy Story 4's plot other than Woody being separated from all the other toys.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I don't even think Andy's in the picture
See,
anymore.
and for me, and the reason I even bring it up is because that for me was a problem. I think the whole Toy Story franchise is built around Andy and his love for these toys. If we don't see Andy again, if we're not reintroduced to Andy at a further point in his life and how those toys still matter to him, I think we fail. I think it has to, if you're going to bring it full circle, bring it full circle. Like have it definitively end with Andy. That's just my opinion. I know you're super excited about this next one too, because everybody loved the animated one, but man,
It's true.
when they showed the little bit of footage and you saw the live action pop out, everybody was like, what? We're of course talking about the live action Lilo and Stitch coming. Oh,
Yes.
I mean, there had long been rumors about this one, but everybody was like, is it not? Are they moving? Are they not? Kind of. Well, now we know they definitely are, and they've already got it because we saw a little bit of it, when they break through the screen and everybody's like, ah! So, and man, it looks amazing. Like I said, the
does look
technology
really
is
good.
just there. It's like they can just rip it straight from the animated cell, put it into the computer, and then plop it out in live action 3D kind of CGI. And it's just creepy how accurate they look. Just, man. But I know a lot of people are excited for this one.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, especially for my generation, that became like a staple of a film that was made in our time period. Because, Lion King came a little before me, I think in 93. But then Lilo and Stitch, I believe, came in the early 2000s. So, I mean, that one's a big staple for people of my generation. And to be able to see that, it'll be very interesting, though, because if y'all remember the live action Lion King, it was shot for shot, basically. Very similar to what the animated project was, which was absolutely amazing. But then there were some of those people that were like, I wish we could have changed a little bit. But I don't even necessarily know if you need to change anything because it's already such a beloved project. Like, I mean, maybe you can, of course, show a few different scenes, a few different settings, that type of stuff. But as far as the overall story goes, I mean, I think you need that shot for shot because that's why you fell in love with these projects. So I'm very excited about that one. And I definitely think that's going to do well. Definitely going to hit over 100 million, in my opinion, at the domestic box office. So yeah, I'm very excited about that one, and I love the little teaser clips that we got. From it. Super excited to see what the actors look like when we finally get a full trailer. So that's going to be very exciting. And what's also very exciting is this one, which seems to be the new staple of Pixar and Disney animation. They are the ones who are carrying a little bit younger generations, but the generation that is basically about to turn into adults, like 18, 19, 20-year-olds. They remember this film when it first came out. But the third installment was announced at D23, and I am talking about Frozen. Frozen 3 is happening, and I know a lot of people are excited about it. And I just, we didn't get a lot of information about that one. It's kind of like The Incredibles 3. But I think this is going to be one that has the potential to go to a Frozen 5, a Frozen 6, because it has that love, it has that instilled fan base. So it's going to be interesting to see how they keep developing it with this, sisterly love bond that they have going on in these films. So I'm excited for that one as well.
Yeah, and it's going to be a while, I think. Anybody who watched that behind-the-scenes documentary on the making of, it takes years to make these type movies. So I mean, we'll probably see this thing around, 2026, 2027. So in all likelihood. But it is. I am curious to see how they're going to. At some point, I think their kids will have to come into it as well. Yeah, I mean, they're getting up there. They're getting old, and they're so. I feel like that is the natural progression. Do we keep? And I'd like to see just some fan service a little bit on this film. Disney has done a very interesting job with not denying the connection to Tarzan.
It's true.
Right? They won't deny it. And while they haven't confirmed it, the fact that they haven't denied it says to me that maybe it's a little bit more than just fan fiction of people trying to put those. It would be interesting to see them serve the fans a little bit there, and maybe somewhere along in Frozen 3 or Frozen 4 or something, they do address it. Is Tarzan related to that family? Did that happen when he was like? Because that would be really interesting to me, and to. I guess it would be a very interesting to cross those two universes together and make people real. Oh no, that's all actually just one, and it's taking place within. That would be really cool.
Right.
So that's my hope. Maybe I don't know, but I'm excited. I've always been a fan, and I come into these movies as just a grown ass adult. But I loved them. I thought they're that rare mix of what Disney does so well. It's where they are perfect films for kids, but then perfect films for adults, because as an adult, I didn't sit there and get bored at all with it. I loved the story. I loved the characters. I loved the whole... Yeah, so they're just so good at doing that. And then a couple of other quick ones just to throw in before we do this next one. Moana 2 is coming, right? And it's animated. And then we've got the live-action remake of Moana, so that's interesting, right? Because I'm guessing if that is going to be almost a shot-for-shot from the original Moana, and then we're getting a sequel, but it's animated. So there's a whole lot going on in the Moana world, which is going to be really interesting to kind of see. And we also know Inside Out is continuing, except in TV form. They're gonna have a series on Disney Plus, so that story is continuing in a bit longer form. Whether that leads to another film or not, we don't know, but that was announced also that they are getting a television series on Disney Plus. That'll be really cool. I think that'll do really well as well. Now this next one, it's being loved, and it's taking some heat. You know, a lot of people are not happy with the interpretation of the dwarfs. I don't have a problem with the interpretation of the dwarfs, other than the fact I'm not offended. I know that little people and there are certain issues that are like they're not cool with it, kind of blah 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 blah. I'm not offended by any. I'm just terrified of them. They look scary as shit.
They do look a little scary.
I mean, they are taken right off the animation. I mean, they look like the animated dwarfs. But in live action, it doesn't translate well. It's not like cute like Lilo and Stitch. They're creepy. They're creepy. But I don't know. But anyway, I'm talking, of course, about Snow White. And this movie looks like it's gonna, Gal Gadot as the witch, right? And pissed off that somebody's prettier than her. Which, by the way, not possible. I'm just saying, they picked a perfect person to be mad that somebody would be prettier than them, right? Because it's like, whoo. But, Rachel Zegler looks amazing as Snow White. It looks like it's gonna, the costume is just, the trailer was amazing. It looks really good. And this is very interesting to me because Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the original one, was the first ever feature-length animated film. And it was the catapult for Walt Disney's animation. Like, aside from the little shorts with Mickey Mouse, the short films, the little skip. This was the first break into feature films for Disney. And it was so groundbreaking that we talk about this all the time. But Walt had to actually design and create a camera that never even existed before to shoot that film dimensional. So that it gave the appearance of 3-dimension in a 2-dimension film. Had never been done before. And it made a ton of money. It was the highest grossing film ever at the point that it was released and was a massive success. So the idea that they're now readdressing this in live action all these years later, really interesting to me, because Disney, the Mouse House, was built on animation. And if you take Mickey out of the equation, that built on was Snow White. And so it's going to be very interesting to see how this live-action film correlates with old schoolers and the new audiences. Are they going to go for it? Are they not going to go for it? I don't know. What are your thoughts on it? Because I am a fan of the original animated film and the history of that film and what it meant for the industry. So I'm curious, but I'm old. So what do you think?
I love the trailer. Yeah, don't get me wrong. They were a little creepy. The dwarfs were, but I had never seen the first one, or I've never seen the original. So, I mean, it's one of those things where I'm like going into it for the first time. I
You
don't
almost
even
had me
know.
spit up my coffee. Like, still you
Yeah,
haven't
we
seen
don't need
it?
that. Yeah, I don't know. I've never
Wow.
seen the original, so like I don't know if I'm gonna try to watch it
Oh, you
before going
totally
into the
should.
live action.
You totally should. Just
But
as a
yeah, I'm
filmmaker,
excited.
as a
Yeah.
filmmaker, I would highly recommend, just because I think you're going to just be blown away. And then watch and I don't know if it was a documentary that I was watching about Walt or about the history of the animation of Disney, but I'm sure if you Google it, you can find, and watch about the creation of that camera and the detail that he goes into to make that film. I think, oh my gosh, yeah, I think you'd love it. You'd love it.
Yeah, I'm excited. That's for sure. Like I said, with not knowing it really much about it, obviously, yeah, I know the grand scope, but I don't know the journey. I haven't been on that journey yet, so I'm pumped about that. But my real question is, and I mean, we've had this question before, how many more live action remakes are they going to continue going to the vault for?
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
it's kind of unfortunate because literally before Marvel, all of these things are already well established IP, right? So, I mean, I don't know if they're timid to make newer content because they feel like they haven't been successful, or at least in their regard, successful over the past couple years. But I just don't know how many more times we can keep going back to the historical vault that is Disney and keep making these live action remakes,
So
right?
you know what, that's a valid point, because and there's ways to do it, because I feel like Enchanted was Disney, was it not? I think it was.
It was. Yeah.
That was an original way to tell the Cinderella story, right? Like so you can go to your IP, you can go to your vault and figure out original ways to use that content without having it be remakes or reboots,
Yeah.
right? Like, and Marvel, and this is a good transition in. It's definitively what they do. That is long established. You know, you're talking since what Marvel, like really 60s. So what 55 plus years of established content. They IP owned, right? But they're telling original stories with that IP. Even if when they're telling us the origin stories, they're telling it in a different way than so it
Like what they're doing with Mufasa.
yes, there's ways to use your IP without just giving us the standard, here's another remake, here's another reboot,
Right.
here's another, just figure out ways. I get it that you own the IP, it's cheaper, it's more economical, it makes more sense money-wise and everything, but be creative with how you do it. It's just like, we don't need to see the same movie 45 different times we just don't. We just use the IP differently. But yeah, let's jump to Marvel. What you got? What's the first one? The big one, I think, that had huge reaction, obviously.
I mean, of course, the freaking Captain America, and we finally saw freaking Harrison Ford as Red Hulk.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, first of all, he looks pretty freaking cool in his form. I'm not gonna lie about it. Overall, like, this is probably, other than the shows, because I'm pretty excited about the shows, but this is probably the most like anticipated Marvel movie for me in a while, to be honest. I mean, of course, I was interested in Wakanda Forever, see how they dealt with the death, and Guardians 3, because that one looked so tear-jerking.
Oh, for sure.
But this one looks so good. Like, spy, espionage, like superhero. Like, those three categories right there is like, that draws a lot of people.
Oh, without doubt.
Right. So, I mean, I feel like what they're going to be able to do and what they're going to be able to set up when it comes to the political landscape in their franchise is going to be so freaking interesting from this film. And yeah, I'm super curious to see like how much Red Hulk are we going to get? Right? Like, is he going to be like uncontrollable to where the objective is going to be to try to maintain him throughout the film, or is he, I'm curious your thoughts on, how much Red Hulk we're actually going to get in Brave New World.
So I think it will be I think it will be a significant amount, and I think it'll be spread out throughout the film. Because remember, not taking anything away from Captain America, because it's a Captain America movie, but it is also the setup for Thunderbolts, because Red Hulk is in Thunderbolts. So that's why I'm saying we're probably going to see the transformation somewhere early in the film. And then they're going to have to figure out, is this going to keep happening? Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? How do we utilize him? He clearly can't stay president. If this guy's going to keep turning into Red Hulk, he can't be president. So we're going to have to see that story play out about who is going to become president. How does the transition go? How does Ross end up on the Thunderbolts as Red Hulk, right? And going there. So I think it will be a significant storyline and a presence of Red Hulk throughout, right? That's the underlying story to Captain America. And
it's going to be interesting to see if we see any of the Thunderbolt characters pop up in this, and they've just keeping that,
I would assume,
under wraps.
Right? I would assume either at the very end or the post-credit scene where he's inducted into the team, right? Like I would assume that's going to have to be. We also know, and this is a huge one, this movie establishes from the Eternals, that big guy that's in the water that's been there for like centuries or whatever. He's made of adamantium, and that is where the adamantium in the MCU has been coming from. So that establishes where Wolvie got it, how weapon. And I saw an interesting theory. Is this Captain America movie the start of the Weapon X program? Because we know that the Wolvie in Deadpool and Wolverine is a different version. He's not ours. So is our Wolverine, does he exist and he doesn't have the adamantium yet? Has he not gone through the Weapon X program yet? And how will that, and which one will survive? Because we know now that Wolvie is in our Earth, our prime. So which one survives? Like will it be the one that's maybe existed all this time but doesn't, and then we see Hugh play him also and he gets the adamantium, or like, I don't know. So, but it's an interesting theory, and the fact that they're introducing adamantium, I think it's the soft launch of not only Thunderbolts, but of the mutants, of X-Men. Yeah. We've done Kamala, and we know Wanda is a mutant. And so they've hinted that they exist, but I think this is going to be the soft setup to, like, we're going to enter the world pretty soon here, and this is what you're going to get. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. And keep in mind how great Red Hulk looked. And that's not even finished CGI. That's still previs CGI that we saw in that little teaser. So, like, man, how good is he going to fucking look when he's finished? That shit. That's probably the best previs CGI I've seen in a long time. I mean, that looked pretty fucking good for something that isn't even finished. So, I'm excited. I'm excited for this one. I am.
For sure. And I think the most exciting thing on the television side is, of course, the highly anticipated Daredevil.
Fuck yes.
Now, this one, there was a trailer that was leaked online. I'm sure some of you saw it, maybe not all of you, but there's no official trailer of it yet, at least not that I've seen.
Well, officially released, because they did confirm that is an official trailer. It just wasn't supposed to be shown to the public. And yet, they didn't take it down. You know how normally, like, when something like that gets leaked, they immediately take it down? They force it to be taken? They didn't. Which says to me they wanted people to see it. They just weren't ready to officially put it out yet. But, because we know Marvel. Marvel's got the guys in the suits and the gun. They take that shit down quick if they don't want you to see it.
Exactly. And I feel like, it really kind of showed itself during Deadpool and Wolverine. They plant leaks. They plant things to where, like, a core amount of their audience will see them, so it generates conversation, word of mouth, but then that stuff comes out. Yeah, that was for sure confirmed during the whole Deadpool and Wolverine press tour. Yep. That's for sure. But, I mean, I love what they're doing with this show so far. I mean, what we saw in that trailer looked absolutely amazing.
Holy shit,
and we've even gotten from, like, co-stars, casting, all the good people, that it's on par with the violence as the Netflix show.
Yeah.
Vincent D'Onofrio even came out and said that it may even be
more violent. Yeah.
Than the Netflix show.
Yeah.
So I'm only curious to see how that's gonna go. We do know the return of Frank Castle, Foggy, Deborah, and Wall. I'm super excited about this thing, man, because in the MCU, other than before Deadpool and Wolverine, I mean, we haven't seen something this violent yet.
Yeah,
so it's going to be interesting to see how it comes about, and if there's going to be reference to She-Hulk, his fling with She-Hulk, if that was ever like,
you know what?
Talked about,
if you briefly just you blink and you miss it, but in that trailer, he's hardcore making out with somebody. Like I think they are going to play up that he's a playboy. He's a man whore. I think they're going to play that up a little bit because in the comic books, he is a fucking man whore. So, like, he gets around, you know. He's blind. He got to be a lot of touchy-feely kind of, you know.
Exactly.
But I please don't come at me. I didn't mean that in any kind of an offensive way. Just joking. Come on. But all kidding aside, though, he does have that reputation in the comic books, and they clearly look like they're not shying away from that in this trailer. And we are, in my opinion, based on what we saw, we're going to see a whole lot more of Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk as opposed to Daredevil and Kingpin. They are going at each other in you know their real lives, so that's going to be amazing. And yeah, this violence thing, I'm like, wait, what? Because all I ever think about initially when I'm first watching that Daredevil show on Netflix and everything is when he puts that guy's head in between that door and just starts bashing, literally breaking his skull, fragments and brains and blood flying everywhere. And so for Vincent to say, yeah, I got something on film that's so incredibly violent, I'm surprised it made the final cut. I'm like, more violent than that? Like, holy shit, what are we going to see in this film? In this series. By the way, if you haven't seen it, Google it, find it, because the trailer, oh my God, y'all, you're gonna love it. There's multiple costumes. We see the red costume, obviously. We see the yellow and red costume, and then there's a black, and I'm not talking about the ninja thing there's an actual black Daredevil costume that he wears at some point, and it looked like all three of those bad boys were hanging in that little thing with us, so that's exciting. And the other thing confirmed by the cast and by Feige out on stage, Season 2 is going to start filming soon. So there will be a Season 2. It will continue past this storyline. And then, we haven't even talked about, you brought up Punisher, but we are also seeing Bullseye return and White Tiger. White Tiger is going to be the bad guy. So that's exciting. That's going to be really cool. Just so many cool, kind of just awesome things. Yeah. This is, on the TV side, by far, I'm the most pumped for. They did do Agatha, and that looks really cool. It's going to bring back Wanda, and it's got a grown-up, the son, and one of the sons of Wanda. And it looks really cool, and I think it's going to be badass. It's got Aubrey Plaza, and I'm super excited about that and everything. But Daredevil is clearly stealing all the thunder on the TV side. It is. I'm sorry.
It is. And we should say, too, before moving on, that they did say they are working on the Ironheart show as well.
Yes, and showed a little footage.
For that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's very exciting. Of course, if more details come out, we'll be on top of that. But as you see, Marvel is in development on all the good stuff, man, on all the good stuff. And speaking of the good stuff, Marvel's first family, of course. Fantastic Four. You saw all of them come out together. They're there. They're warm. They're in love with the roles that they are playing, which I think is really cool because you need that family dynamic when it comes to this family.
Because it's about family. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm super excited because you guys know I'm a big guy when it comes to period pieces, and with it being set back in the day, I think it's going to look absolutely amazing. I know we saw in at Comic-Con, the car. I know that you have the official title of the car.
Yeah, the Fantastic Car, yeah.
So that's going to look awesome. And there was another leaked trailer about this one as well. It looked I'm not. It looked a little like an origin story. That's the only thing I take away from it.
Which
because they said that it wasn't going to be an
exactly,
origin story,
which is confusing because
so,
they're clearly showing them
that's
boarding the rocket,
thing.
right? And before thing is transformed. So is this kind of like maybe? Are they doing an interview and they're recounting or something like that? Because
like flashbacks.
Because they were very adamant that it is not an origin story and that they already exist.
We know how it happened.
Exactly, and because Feige's exact words were they already exist. Like the fantastic. So. It has to be some sort of a recounting, right? Maybe Reed is telling the story to his students or something because they do show that scene where he says, "You want to see a rocket?" Maybe he's recounting on how that went down.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, and I don't know, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I love the costume. It's a variation of the blue and white costume from the comic books, but it looks just a little bit more real world, if you will. Yeah. They're not wearing spandex kind of a thing. It looks like something that would be feasible. And in my opinion, I think they're all going to look just a tad different. They're all going to look like what we saw Johnny wearing, right? That blue and but I think they're all going to look a tad different because my guess is that the costumes will have some sort of like to adapt to their power. So I'm guessing there'll be like little variations of the costumes to adapt to their powers. And how that means, I don't think we're going to see Thing in that costume. I think it's whatever. He's going to probably have the briefs or like however they get around it or whatever. I will say that even though we only see him in shadow on the dating game or whatever, the size of him looks accurate. Right? Because Thing is big, but he's not massive. He's big, rocky, and bulky, but he's not a massive kind of guy. And I always feel like they haven't quite got him. I loved Chiklis's performance of Thing, and I liked that kind of look with him. They did that practical, but he was a little too small. And then in the other one with Michael B. Jordan and stuff, he was too big, right? And so I think it's somewhere in between, and it looks like, at least from that footage that we saw, and again, it's only shadowed in him sitting in a chair, but it looks like it's going to be the right size. And so, and I saw today Feige was talking about, and it's funny that you brought up the cast because he was talking about, he said, Shankman is really good at movies with special effects, and it's very important that we get the stretching looking as awesome as we can, and the invisibility in the fire, and Thing looking like Thing without looking ridiculous. But he said, but the emphasis on Shankman's story is family, and it's why we're so happy with the cast, because this is a story about family, and this cast has become a family. That was Feige. So they understand the importance of what the Fantastic Four is, and how to translate that. So I'm right there with you, and the cast is just, I think there was a lot of skepticism at first, like, but when you see them all come together and you see how they've been reacting with each other, and all the leaked stuff or the behind-the-scenes footage or even on their own Instagrams and stuff, they clearly look like they have really bonded and really become tight, and I think that's going to show in this movie. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I completely agree. Definitely an anticipated film by everyone, because we've seen other iterations of Fantastic Four that were a letdown. So, I mean, we're trying to get there, guys. We're trying to get there, but in Feige we trust. That's for sure.
One last thing on this, the name, the title, they officially introduced the title, and it's Fantastic Four First Steps.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Because again, it's not an origin story. Well, then what does First Steps mean? I don't understand what First Steps mean. Are they going to change history? Are they going to make them that their trip where they get the powers and something goes wrong in that? Are they the people who step on the moon first? Like, are they what is First Steps? They're so good at just throwing out a title and you going, wait, how does that mean? Like the period behind Thunderbolts. Like Feige said, no, it's not a mistype. It's on purpose. There's a reason for it. Like, what? So, yeah, they're just so good at that shit, bro. They're so good at it.
It's so funny. Well, we also want to say that a judge, because everybody knows that Disney, ESPN, Fox, Warner Brothers, they're trying to come together and be friendly and make a sports freaking app. They want to have a live streaming sports app to where, you'll be able to watch all your football, all your basketball, all the good things. And, they were going to call it Venue Sports. But a judge delayed that because everybody knows Fubo TV, who also has sports, is coming at them. They're like, we already have the app. This is us right here. Why are we doing this? So, the judge he delayed it, but I think they're going to continue moving forward. I don't know if they're going to have to drop some stuff to make it more, I don't know, not as crowding or encroaching on Fubo TV's content, but it's going to be interesting because Warner Brothers and Disney partnering together on a joint venture is huge. So for this to get stopped, I mean, that's a major wrinkle in their trajectory.
Yeah, because they've already spent a lot of money on it. And the reasoning behind, so Fubo has, they filed to have this injunction to block it from premiering under antitrust laws. They're claiming it's a monopoly, that it's too big and it will crush them. Basically saying that everybody will just go there and we don't stand a chance and it's monopolistic, so it's an antitrust violation. And the judge agreed with that, so he put the temporary block on it. So, and it's interesting because the terminology was a temporary block, meaning I think the thing is ready to launch. And he said, nuh-uh, not yet. We're blocking it right now. So, and then so now it's got to make its way through because Disney's and Fox and Warner Brothers are obviously going to fight this, saying it's not a monopoly, it's not an antitrust, which means it'll have to go up the chain in the court system and eventually, I think, get to maybe even the Supreme Court to decide, is this an antitrust violation? Are they too big? Is this a monopoly? So it might be a while before we see Venue, if we see Venue. So we'll keep an eye on it, though, because like I said, Warner Brothers is struggling right now. So they pumped a lot of money into this. So any kind of a thing where they have lost money and then the return with revenue is now halted, that is not good for Warner Brothers right now. It's not. And what am I speaking of? So linear television, right? Linear, you guys know, which is broadcast networks and cable stations, okay? Well, Warner Brothers owns a shit ton of them, and they are dying, and they are struggling, and they are losing money, and they are bleeding quickly. And, well, financial institutes and banks and the stock market, they don't like that. They don't like it. And so they have downgraded Warner Brothers Discovery's credit rating to negative. And you all know what happens when you have a negative credit rating. You can't get money. They're not going to give you loans. And when you're struggling like Warner Brothers Discovery is right now, carrying the massive debt that they're carrying, and they're trying to do things to make movies and launch streamers and convert, they need money. And the negative credit rating is going to make that far more difficult to get. This is big. This is we're joking about it, we're laughing about it, but this is like a really serious issue. We talked about it a little bit last week. That stock is at $7-something right now, and now they have a negative negative credit rating, meaning money's not going to be coming. They're in trouble. They are in trouble. And if they can't figure out how to turn this thing around and turn it around quickly, we could see the end of it. We could see the end of this thing. And that worries me because Discovery will just spin off. Discovery will survive, right? And this motherfucker will take Max because, like, now, you know. But the storied history of Warner Brothers is what I'm worried about. So I don't know, man. We're gonna keep an eye on this. But yeah, it was a little bit shocking, I think, because just the recent rating, just not even that long ago, was at least stable. They had it rated as stable, now negative. So. And they did, I should
this
say. This
could go down as one of the worst mergers in history. Because what Zaslav has been trying to do, and publicly what he's saying he's trying to do, is help bring it back to the glory days, blah, blah, blah. But he obviously is not doing any of that. Everybody talks about it all the time in Hollywood. Our sources say, everybody's surprised that this guy even has a job. It's just terrifying because, if another studio doesn't come in and save Warner Brothers, it's gone. Like you said, I mean, which is so sad.
The comparison is, and you and I talked about it all the time, 2 years ago, during the Chapek reign, they were like twins. Chapek and Zaslav were making like similar type horrible decisions, and they were costing their stock shares holders shit tons of money, and they were fucking up content, and they were messing up relationships they were like yin and yang doing their shit. And look how quickly Disney said, fuck that, get rid of Chapek. Exactly. But Warner Brothers, nobody's going, get rid of Zaslav. Somebody's got to say, get rid of Zaslav, because this guy is like, they are in trouble. And I just want to finish that with saying that the S&P made the decision, and they emphasized they are taking it down to negative because of the issues with the linear television, and they think it's a big problem, and they do not see it improving anytime soon, which is what made the decision to downgrade them. And I would agree with that assessment wholeheartedly. I mean, they're in trouble. They're in trouble.
But it is an interesting. There may be a horizon on the other end. Probably just for Max, because Horizon American Saga Chapter 1 will be streaming on Max Friday, August 23rd. Now, when we say this is actually a pretty decent movie,
that's next
especially
week.
If you break it up like the Justice League film that Zack Snyder did, you just break it because it's long. It's literally over 3 hours. But if you break it up into like a television show, which is the way it's shot, it's good. Like, it's a very decent Western film. I don't know if we'll ever see Chapter 2, even though it's already completed. But, I'm sure if this does well on streaming, then they'll probably just release it on streaming as well. But, yeah, I mean, there it is. If you didn't get a chance to see it in theaters because it was barely there, get a chance to watch it on Max. I mean, it's not a horrible movie, guys. I'm just saying.
I see, and this, to me, is another confusing business decision.
It is.
I don't understand this, because for anybody who doesn't know, this movie was theatrically released like not even that long, like mid-June. So in less than 2 months, it's on Max for free. And it's only been available on VOD to rent or buy less than a month. It hit last month, mid-July. So remember, they came out and said, "Well, we're gonna put it on available for people to rent and buy and try to recoup some of that money that we didn't make at the box office." Less than a month, and now it's free. Nobody's gonna rent that shit. You can watch it for free. So, as a business decision, when you've just been downgraded to negative and you're losing money out the ass, shouldn't you hold on to that, rent it or buy it a little bit longer before you just throw it up for free for everybody?
Just a little bit.
I don't see how they're going to recoup any money on that first movie, and they lost a shit ton of money on it. So I don't know. I mean, is the rationale behind that? Are they trying to use this strictly as a marketing tool to do a better job of pushing people into the theaters for the second one? Because I don't think that's going to work. I am right there with you. I think this should have been maybe a series as opposed to a film. And I don't know. This is another bad decision. And it's sad because, like you said, it's a really good film. If you're into Westerns and you like story and you like good storytelling, I mean, Costner's a great director, and this is a great story and a really good film, but this is a bad decision. I'm sorry, this is a bad decision. I don't know. I don't know. If I'm a shareholder of Warner Brothers, which if it goes any lower, I might be, but I'm unhappy. I'm unhappy at this point. Like, what are you doing? You're not making sense. Yeah, and I don't know, man. I don't know.
It is crazy, man. It is crazy. And more craziness happening in Hollywood. We're going to jump over to Paramount, where Paramount Television Studios has shut down Paramount Global, or got Paramount Television Studios shut down by Paramount Global. Because everybody knows they're trying to sweeten the deal for the Skydance purchase, and I wouldn't be surprised if there was some more cuts happening, because, I mean, we all know that there are a lot of global layoffs happening right now as well. I mean, what did we see? Like something $500 million in cuts?
That's what they're trying to do. Yeah, so it's a 15% of the employees are being cut. It's a 15% hit to the employees. And yeah, because like you said, they're trying to save $500 million, which is interesting because when you look at the purchase price of the merger and remember what the hit would be, what they were obligated if she decided to go to somebody else and they had to pay, it was $500 million. So they're trying to save that much money to make this deal almost like it was an even swap. What I'm thinking they're trying to do, right? We're going to pay this much money, but if we can save $500 million, it's almost like an even swap for us. We just accumulate it for nothing and take on the debt. It seems to me like that's what they're doing.
Why does it seem like Hollywood is just burning right now?
Yeah,
Hollywood,
yeah.
It just seems like all of these legendary studios are on fire. It's very unfortunate to see.
I just want to do this because I know I saw my feed blow up with, oh shit, what does that mean? Because Reacher, which is a massively popular show right now, is made by Paramount Television. There's a bunch of shows currently on the air that are made by Paramount Television. They're not going anywhere, guys. Paramount Television is being folded into CBS Studios. Yes. So they'll just continue the production of making these shows. So your shows are not going to go away. They're just going to be now under the CBS Studios banner, like Criminal Minds is. So don't worry. Reacher's not going anywhere. Yeah, and some of those employees, I did see today that some Paramount Television Studios employees will make the transition over to CBS. But not all, like you said, because they're making cuts. And I'm assuming before this whole merger goes through and it's all said and done, we are going to see more cuts. But we're going to keep an eye on it because the only good news out of this is that Skydance's intention is to save Paramount Studios. They don't want the studio to die. It was never about buying it and selling it off, like could potentially happen with Warner Brothers. This has always been about saving Paramount Studios. So whatever they have to do and however they're trying to do it, good. Just keep rolling and do what you got to do,
Completely agree, man. Completely agree. And I mean, a positive coming out of Paramount is Jared Padalecki joining Fire Country.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, this only makes sense. It seems like the boys, aka the guys from Supernatural, definitely love CBS and Paramount. I love seeing this, especially after, Walker, Texas Ranger, or just Walker was canceled, and him hopefully finding a recurring role in Fire Country that is very successful. Still waiting for that team up to happen again in another show because their dynamic and their chemistry is unmatched, to be honest. But yeah, I'm very excited for this.
And according to sources, it's a 3-episode arc that could potentially spin off into his own series. I guess they're going to kind of do what they did with Morena Baccarin. They're going to test it, see if people like the character, and then if they do, they're going to talk about spinning it up. But he's another fire guy, so it's going to be interesting. Is it going to be a different part of California that they're going to just spin off into a whole different type, which would be interesting because, we've seen it countless times, CSI Miami, CSI New York, will we get a Fire Country Sonoma or wherever. I mean, so because we know the spinoff with the Sheriff Country is still in that same town. It's because that, she's the sheriff of where Fire Country takes place. But they have made it clear that Padalecki's character is a fire guy, and he's a well-known, beloved, revered kind of so I don't know. I just don't know if this means spin-off into another Fire Country, if you will, just in a different place. Right. But I'm excited, though. Like you said, Padalecki's a great actor, and, it's hard sometimes because when you come off a show that you basically spent your entire life on, they were that 15 plus years on that show. That's a long time to break away from a character. So, and both of them have had some success trying to do it. So it's good to see them kind of, get these opportunities, and I hope it does well. I'd like to see a spinoff with it. I think watching him play a cop, a Texas Ranger, I think he'd be great as a firefighter. I think it would be just something that I'm down for. Sony's got some interesting stuff going on. Have you seen it? It Ends With Us. I watched it. Unbelievable. It is a phenomenal film. It addresses domestic violence. It's done in an amazing way where it deals with a very difficult subject, but it doesn't make it, they do it in a way where it's not difficult to watch necessarily. There are some scenes where you're like, this is making me uncomfortable a little bit, but they do it in a way that's they also play it up a little. There's some comedy in it, and there's the romance. It's a love story, believe it or not, even though it's kind of built around domestic violence, but it is a love story, and it's a story about family, and it's a story about young love and current love, and it's really, really well done, and this is where, though, and it overperformed at the box office. This thing was supposed to make like between 13 and 20 million. It made $50 million, and it's over $100 million now globally. It's rocking and rolling at the box office, and I'm not surprised because it's a really good film. And this is where it kind of gets weird, though, you guys. So I saw an interview with Baldoni, the director and star of it, opposite Blake Lively, and he was very gracious towards Blake and her approach on how she played the character. And he said it was very important to him because of what his character is and what it did, that it was told from not a male point of view. He wanted it told from the female perspective, and he directed it that way, to be told from Lily's perspective. And he goes very much into about how Blake was down with that and very creative and involved in the process of it. But if you noticed, they wouldn't even stand next to each other on the red carpet premieres. The cast unfollowed him on Instagram. They don't talk. There's back and forth about what happened. Did it happen? There was creative differences in post-production. Or now it's she says he lingered with the kissing scene too long and made her uncomfortable. Or he made a fat joke about her because she had just had the baby kind of. So there's a whole back and forth about why they're at each other. But for me, it's unfortunate because Blake it spun. It was him getting all the negative shit. He even had to hire a crisis manager. But now she's getting hammered. They're showing all these old clips where she refused to wear a bracelet a fan gave her, and where she was being snotty with a reporter and like basically making fun of the reporter. Now she's getting hammered as a bitch, which is just. But the reason I bring all that up, and I'm curious about your thoughts on it, is it's taking away from a fucking really good film. It's a really good film with a really important message about domestic violence. And now all we're talking about is the fucking behind the scenes drama instead of the film and what the film stood for. And so I have a real problem with that. Somebody needs to get that shit together and like figure it out, because you're hurting your film. You're hurting your film. And it's a great film. I just,
I know, it's very interesting. I still haven't seen it yet, and I still really want to. But yeah, I mean, a film about domestic violence that has a bullying, weirdness, awkwardness, a little essay on set, like, that type of thing that is being interpreted. So it's weird that, it came from that place and got developed into that. So it's very strange. And, the whole he said, she said thing is not good for anybody, because there's talks about sequels. There's talks about moving forward with this as like a mini franchise or what have you. So, I mean, that always makes things very weird. And it makes you wonder, like, because you and I were talking about it. It was his production company, right?
That optioned the book rights. Yeah.
That optioned the book rights. So even if he doesn't direct the second film, he's still going to be involved as like a producer, executive producer, and of course moving forward with Blake Lively's character. Yeah, it's just super weird, and it sounds like, because you've seen all the stuff in the trades, he said, she said, all this stuff. And I mean, it seems like he took a little bit of hit in his pride, I guess you could say, because he felt like Blake and he felt like Hugh and Ryan also, like, they were helping promote the film, which only helps him in the outcome because of all the success of Deadpool and Wolverine. They were helped with promos. They were helping doing the goofy interviews, that type of stuff. So it's like, why wouldn't you want that?
Right.
For your film? Like, you want it to be seen by as many people as possible. And like, yeah, with this being like a huge opening for a story-driven film, we haven't seen a story-driven film make this much money in a very long time.
No,
so it's hard to see this with all of the behind-the-scenes drama. So I mean, it's very unfortunate. It's crazy that it even came to this point. I wouldn't be surprised if a sequel doesn't happen because of all of this.
Yeah, because he controls it. He controls it right now. So, like, and he's already said he doesn't want any part of directing the sequel. And for anybody who doesn't know, the next book is It Begins With Us. And it's focused all on the young love and the boyfriend and that storyline prior to getting to the story that we see in It Ends With Us. So it doesn't even involve his character unless they were going to do current day and we see him. Because apparently in the book, it Begins With Us, they do show present day stuff, and he's like, there's some custody issues going on with the kid and like all that kind of, spoiler, they have a kid. So there's potential for him to be in it, at least as an actor, the character, but he's already made it clear he doesn't want to direct. But with optioning the rights, he has the rights to the sequel, so he could just shut it down altogether. I mean, Blake Lively and her gang and or the original author would somehow have to negotiate buying the rights back, or they're just at his whim. He can do whatever he wants and say no, that he doesn't want to make a sequel and he has the rights. And until that tenure of time frame runs out on the right, he would be in control of it. So that's difficult. And I'm with you though. I'm like, nobody said shit. Everybody seems to forget that Blake Lively was also on the red carpet of almost every red carpet helping promote Deadpool and Wolverine. So why would it be any different if her husband is doing the same for her in her movie? That just seems like that's a no-brainer to me. So why this is an issue? Like you said, I think it was a pride thing, like you said. But that just seems stupid. I mean, come on, man. The guy, I mean, and by the way, this is the first time in the month of August ever that two films both made more than $50 million on the weekend. It's the first weekend in an August in box office history where two films made above $50 million. So, I mean, that's huge. And, of course, it had to do with fucking Hugh and Ryan helping promote it. Of course it did. Like, I don't know, man. It's we'll keep an eye on it because I really enjoyed the film and I would like to see the sequel. So, I'm kind of pissed off. Just get your shit together. It's a petty fight. It's stupid.
It is.
Move on. Move the fuck on. Focus on the film that helps people. Because this film helps people. And so just move past your petty shit. It's pointless. It's stupid.
Completely agree, man. Completely agree. Well, Sony is moving on in their Spider-Man universe. That's for sure. Because they just freaking released a new trailer for Kraven the Hunter. They also released a poster for it, and man, oh man, this one is definitely way better than the first trailer we got. It's definitely more raunchy. I think it's more, down to earth. I feel like the first one was, I don't know, it felt a little global, I guess. And I mean, of course he's dealing overall, global, but I mean, I think what they're incorporating with the dad and ex-mafioso and all of that stuff, Russell Crowe, I think, I think this film could set up a great anti-hero that everybody thinks was set up with Venom. But I think this film has the potential to do big things. But I mean, we see how freaking fan reactions react to Sony's content when it comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I just, I love what Aaron Taylor Johnson brought to this, or is going to bring to this role. Because in this trailer, man, he seems like a badass. He seems like a guy who, is trying to overcome his father's legacy, whether that be, following a little bit in his footsteps while making a name for himself or just letting himself be himself. I just, I'm really looking forward to this film which I thought I wouldn't say after seeing that first trailer. But yeah, it looks pretty badass.
Well, so apparently they went back and reshot a lot of it and then rethought the marketing on it. And so I like, because the reason Venom works so well, and you can't disassociate Venom from Spider-Man. It's impossible. He looks like it. You know what's right. But it worked because they made him likable. He is an anti-hero. He's bad, but he's doing it for good reasons, right? He's the epitome of an anti-hero. Well, that's what they're doing with Kraven. He's a bad guy. He's a villain in the Spider-Man universe, but like you said, he's trying to escape his past from his father. He doesn't want to be a Russian gangster. He doesn't want to be involved in all that shit. He's trying, and when he hurts people, it's because they're bad people. And he's trying to, and they're doing a really good job of emphasizing the anti-hero. He's a good guy deep down doing some bad stuff for the right reasons. And I think this trailer really emphasizes that and does a really good job. The other thing that I noticed is they have taken out all reference to Spider-Man. The first trailer, they made a huge reference that it was in the Spider-Man universe. They made reference that this is a Spider-Man film. It's gone. It's completely gone. There is no reference to Spider-Man at all anywhere in the marketing now. I think they should continue with that. I don't think you even bring it up. I don't even think you should mention that, other than when the movie first starts and you see the Marvel banner, right? Yeah. But I don't even think in the marketing you should mention Marvel. I think you just build this thing as Kraven the Hunter and let people think don't even let them know that it takes place, that it has anything to do with Spider-Man. Because it looks like a really great film on its own. You don't even need Spider-Man to sell this film. And so I think where they've run into trouble with like Morbius and you know, Spider-Woman and all these is trying to link it to Spider-Man. It sometimes it's just not necessary. Like you for non-comic book fans, you don't need to know that Kraven is a Spider-Man villain. This is an interesting story without ever knowing Spider-Man eventually crosses paths with him. And I think if they want to be successful with this, and it looks like this is what they're trying to do, go that route. Go with what you're doing. Just push it as a Kraven movie and let that be. Because there's definitely interest. I mean, everybody that I've talked to that's seen it fucking loved it. And they have no idea it's Spider-Man. So I think that's the way you go. You just keep doing that. And I think this film, I agree with you. I think it has potential to do really well at the box office. And just stay away from Spider-Man. Because, you know, you don't need him.
It's so funny to say, because, you know, they're trying to build their own, like, universe over there. And, you know, what they had before with Madam Web and with Venom. It's just completely different. But, yeah, I think this has the potential to do big things to where he can build his own thing to where it can merge at a certain point.
Well, and just to follow up on that, because I also saw... What did I read this yesterday, the day before? Anyway, villains that appear in their Marvel movies, the Marvel Studios are not allowed to use. So we'll never see Kraven in an MCU movie. Apparently that's part of that agreement that they have. Any villains that are seen in, which is interesting because is that what's delaying the Venom Spider-Man crossover? Are they trying to say that we won't see Venom in an MCU movie? That's interesting. But anyway, if that's true, then there's no point to associate Spider-Man with these movies. If we're never going to see them in a Spider-Man movie, then why do we even have to reference Spider-Man in these movies? We don't.
Right.
So I think that's how you make money off a Spider-Man character without ever talking about Spider-Man. Just like, I mean...
Exactly. Well, to round out our industry news, I thought this one was very interesting because, you know, you would have figured this was going to be a high budget, very theatrical film that was going to come out. And we're talking about Apple pulling Wolves from its wide release calendar. Now, if you don't remember, Wolves was basically this like buddy movie with Brad Pitt and George Clooney. Two huge names. We know Apple loves its stars. It brings in Joaquin Phoenix, Henry Cavill, freaking anybody and everybody. Leonardo DiCaprio for Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese. They love names, but their movies at the theaters do not do very well. Now, this one I think is very interesting because I feel like out of all of the movies that they have made, this is the most, I feel like, publicly our public one that was going to be enjoyed by the masses, I should say, because it's the most, I feel like, widespread genre to where you can bring in all of these different types of audience members to where they could enjoy this type of film. But I'm just very curious, what is their movie plans going to look like? Because they haven't made any noise or any implication that they're going to take Brad Pitt's F1 movie out of the theaters.
No, they have no.
But they're going to take this one out of the theaters. I just think it's so interesting because, everybody was highly anticipating these two being seen on screen again.
Yeah.
So it's always very, very interesting to see how Apple approaches the entertainment industry because, it's not by any means on the forefront of their mind. Let's be honest about it. So yeah, because Killers of the Flower Moon did pretty well when it comes to critical acclaim. It got nominated for Oscars and things like that. And then of course Napoleon, I liked it. People didn't like it. Just like Argyle, you said you liked it and people didn't like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just, it's very interesting to see how Apple is going to approach the filmmaking industry because of situations like these. They love the stars. They think, they're kind of taking a Netflix approach to where if you can get big name stars, they think it's going to draw in that crowd, which is not true. So it'll be interesting to see moving forward what their plans for the movie industry is going to be.
I think, and I'm just basing this on a statement that Tim Cook made, a few months back about how they have money. And they're not worried about box office success. I think their goal is to get it into box offices in limited cities that qualify for the Oscars, and that's their only goal. As balloons. I think that's that when you say what's their intention in the movie industry, I think they want to win Oscars, and I think they don't care about box office money. I think they make these movies with these big stars, and they know they have to be in New York, L.A., Chicago, whatever the little markets are that qualify them for the Oscars. And then they're trying to make Oscar-worthy films that don't have to make money. And you can do that when you have $500 million in cash on hand, right? You don't care if it doesn't make money at the box office like these other studios need. So I don't know.
They're taking a very Netflix approach to it. Which
is
very
basically, except Netflix is bleeding money. They don't have $500 million of cash on hand like Apple does. Yeah. But it is interesting though to see that approach. And there's a lot of I just watched a movie over the weekend on Paramount, which was a strictly for a Paramount Plus. It was called Finest Kind. Had Jenna Ortega and Tommy Lee Jones and Sam Worthington, a bunch of people in it. Really, really great film, but strictly for Paramount Plus. And I'm just like, are we going that route? Are we going to see the studios go, maybe we'll just take our shot with the tent pole in the theater, and we're just going to make these other ones for the streamers? Because there's a lot of really good films out there. That's big stars in that film. And it was a really good... Jenna Ortega's like the it girl right now. And that never even got theatrically released. I'm like, what? So it's a very interesting strategy on how they're all playing these things out. I don't know. But it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be
George Clooney has definitely came out and said he does not like where Hollywood's at right now.
No,
I'm sure this was a big reason why.
Yeah, there are a lot of old school people that are like, movies are meant to be in movie theaters. They're meant to be in cinemas and not on TV. And I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. I think there are a lot of old school people that agree with that philosophy, and it's hard to argue when you watch the fan reactions like we talked about at the top of the show, and you see a packed theater of 300 people screaming at the top of their lungs with something as simple as a mask being put on. You don't get that at home. You just don't get that at home. You don't get that excitement, that so the idea that some of these guys are thinking that we should just put everything on streamers and not worry about theatrical releases, that's sad to me. I feel like We need theatrical releases, man. We just do. Come on.
I completely agree. The status of the industry, like I said, it's kind of on fire right now, but we love it. We love it.
It really is. It really is.
It's crazy. But anyway, it is now time for our top 5 segment, and we kind of touched on it a little bit when we were going through D23. So, I mean, this top 5 should be nice, easy.
Oh, yeah, we don't even have to say a whole lot about them because we talked all about them like up top. With the exception of one, which we can talk about a little bit because I can't believe we didn't even talk about that at the top of the show. And I just brought up Jenna Ortega, so before we quickly jump in, I do want to say they did show some footage from Beetlejuice also. Over the weekend, not for D23, but over the weekend there was new footage released from Warner Brothers for Beetlejuice. They're on their marketing kick right now. They are pushing it out there. Yeah. I think they were in Mexico just recently. Keaton's coming down and he's hoisting himself up on the escalator with his feet out. Crowd's going crazy for him and everything. So you're going to start, we'll probably have a lot next week on that because they're starting the hardcore push for Beetlejuice. So stay tuned for that because it looks like it's going to be an exciting campaign. They're pushing hard for it. So anyway, all right. Back to our top 5.
All right, the top 5 this week is, of course, the upcoming things that we're most excited about from Disney. Oh my goodness. Well, like I said, with not being able to see the original one first, the curiosity is key, right? So my number 5 goes to Snow White. I'm excited to go along on this journey, especially if you guys remember a couple years ago when there was a lot of backlash against racial injustice, and specifically with a lot of older Disney films, painting people in a different light. That Snow White was one of those films. So it'll be interesting to see what they did in the live action film to, manipulate that a little bit and turn the tide. So I'm curious to see that, but I still want to go back and watch the first one, or the original one first. So yeah, number 5 for me is Snow White. I'm excited just to be along on this journey.
Yeah, that's a good point because the dwarfs in the original one, they are certainly representations of real life personalities. And
exactly.
Not all good. Yeah. So how did they change that up? That's going to be interesting to see. Or did they? But, everybody seems to forget, too, that all these Disney movies, all these animated classics, they're all stem from the Grimm brother fairy tales, which were dark, twisted shit. So Disney, they were Disney-fied, but the origin stories, the content is from dark shit. So, I mean, every now and then it just makes sense that there's some dark shit still in there, like these dwarfs.
Exactly.
I mean... Anyway, my number 5, we don't have a whole lot to say about it because we don't know a whole lot about it. We just know it's happening. So, but I will say I have it on mine because I'm super excited about it. I've really enjoyed the first 2. I think they're great adult films as well as kid films, and I'm excited to see where the story is going. And I'm talking about Frozen 3. Like you, I'm excited to be on the journey, and I'm ready to build another fucking snowman. Let's do it. Like my number 5, Frozen 3.
I mean, they definitely have freaking some of the best soundtracks from Disney films.
Yeah.
That's for sure. So I'm excited to see what the third installment will bring as far as music. That's awesome. Well, number 4 for both of us, one that we didn't talk about.
Which, how did we not talk about?
Because, I mean, there's still not a lot out right now about the plot or anything. The Mandalorian and Grogu film that will be coming out.
Yes.
I'm super excited about it because obviously Star Wars is life. And it's coming out on my birthday, so gonna have to get a big group of people to go see that on my birthday. I think that'll be a whole bunch of fun. But I mean, it not only is Pedro Pascal killing it on The Last of Us, about to kill it in Fantastic Four, he is also the Mandalorian. This guy might be the busiest guy in Hollywood.
Oh, without doubt.
Let's be honest about it. When it comes to franchises, this dude's everywhere. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how much mask off or helmet off we will get in this film, because I'm betting a lot of it will be just him doing some ADR work and everybody else just filling in his shoes.
And it kind of has to be, because the whole last season of the show was the emphasis of, I'm never taking it off again. I fucked up. I'm sorry. He had to earn the right back into to be a Mandalorian, and he basically said, I'm never fucking taking this thing off again. So, yeah, I would assume it's going to be a lot of ADR work. Because if he takes it off, he fucking blows the whole thing. I am excited about this one, though. They did, and you're right, they released a whole trailer for it, and you still kind of don't know what it's about.
Other
than Grogu is now his official like apprentice. He is teaching him to be a bounty hunter, basically. And like, so that's interesting because he set aside being a Jedi and he's going to be a bounty hunter, but he's also kind of a Jedi. And so it's, and will we finally learn, is there not a connection with him and Yoda? Like, they're clearly the same species. They have to be. Yeah. So where is is he tied to that lineage, or is he just another guy from the planet? Or like you know, because we still don't know a whole lot about Yoda. Through all the history of Star Wars, we really still don't know a whole lot about his race, his planet, all that kind of stuff. Maybe in the books, but I've never read the books. But just from a movie standpoint, we don't know much about him. So will we learn more about Yoda through Grogu, which would be really interesting.
It would be.
And here's the biggie, will we hear Grogu talk?
Right.
He's older now. He's got to be older, right? They're implying, at least in the trailer, that they've been training for a while and that they've been on this thing now. It's been a little bit since the show. So will we see him talk? And will he talk in weird, short, backward sentences like Yoda? Is that like a race thing? Or was just a Yoda thing? Like, we need to know these questions, the answers to these questions. So I am excited about this. And plus, we know this takes place in the Skywalker era. So will we continue to see more of that story play within this story also? And Ahsoka. So, you know, that too. Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. All right, yeah. Number 4 for both of us.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, number 3 for both of us as well is Captain America: Brave New World. Of course, everybody knows we're huge Marvel fans, and we just talked a whole bunch about it. But I mean, I'm just really excited for Sam to get his own film because he can carry a freaking story.
Fuck
man.
Yeah, he can.
I mean, Anthony Mackie is such a talented actor, so for him to finally get his own film, and like I love how I've been seeing all over TikTok at least the freaking Tom Holland versus Anthony Mackie like getting his own movie.
Yeah. That's been a running gag between the two of them. Yeah.
I really hope Bucky is involved at least, because of the dynamic they built in Captain America and the Winter Soldier, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I should say. That dynamic, it's so special and it's so tight now. I mean, they really became really good friends through that series. So I'm hoping that we see a little bit more of that in the film. I'm pumped.
I would assume we do because, like I said, we know Bucky / Winter Soldier, he's in Thunderbolts. And this movie is setting up Thunderbolts. So I'm assuming at some point we're going to see Bucky and Sam together again, right? Like they kind of have to be. And it is because, right, like do we just sideline Bucky now because we've got the new Falcon? Because that relationship, Sam is clearly, with that relationship.
Working now.
And so do we just kind of see him, that's the new sidekick? Because as we know in the comic books, really, Falcon is always the sidekick kind of to Cap. So the new Falcon will be his sidekick if he's Cap. But yeah, I'm with you. They're best friends, and that relationship was important. And I can't imagine that with the storytelling, they're just going to step away from that. That just seems like that's a no-brainer. Number two. Yeah, what you got for number 2?
Goodness. Well, I got the live-action Lilo and Stitch.
There you go.
I think, like I said, that one is it's near and dear to my heart because I remember watching it for the very first time in theaters, and I just feel like it's going to be so good. Everybody loves the Hawaiian culture as well. So I feel like, it's going to be very laid back, very mellow. And, I mean, the aliens. There's going to be so much alien stuff. And I'm super curious to see how that CGI is going to work. Because, I mean, if you guys remember, there's these big Thanos mofos looking, coming out of the sky.
Yeah.
So I'm super pumped to see just all the effects and how different it's going to be and how similar it's going to be. Because, like I said, it's such a cult classic in my generation. So, yeah, Lilo and Stitch, the live action, number 2 for me.
Fantastic. My number 2 is Incredibles 3. And like I said, I'm a huge superhero geek, have been since birth. And it's a great superhero story, but it's also a great family story. It's basically the Fantastic Four, but not the Fantastic Four, right? It's like a family of superheroes that are but my emphasis and why I'm so excited about it, and I hope that I'm right, because, again, we don't know anything about it yet, but we've seen the story of Bob and the missus, right? We saw their early relationship, then we saw them as parents, and we saw their relationship grow and where it was in the second film. So we know them, right? I think it's time to pass it off. I think they need to kind of be secondary in this third one, in my opinion. Just be in the role of, and I think I want to see Incredibles 3 focus on the kids. Because I think they're older now. They should be older now, and they should be at the point where they're the focal point of the movie. And if it goes that route, I think it's going to be fucking epic. And if it doesn't go that route, I'm curious to see how they continue to progress the story with Bob, because like we've just seen them. We know everything about them. We know how they got together. We know the struggle they had. We know how they deal with the parenting and how they roped the kids into the superheroing. We know all that. So it's time for the kids. My number two, Incredibles 3, right? Like it's time to move the story.
The first one was all about the guy, and the second one was all about the girl.
Exactly, and we know them. It's time for the kids. Let's see Violet and Dash and their lives play out, because you could do the similar thing, right? Make this one about Violet. She's a bit older. Make the fourth one about Dash, and you could literally do what you did with the parents, but with the kids. And
exactly,
so, it just seems to be the way to go, but.
This is the way.
This exactly. We don't work for Disney or Pixar, but if we were doing it, this is how we would go. Just saying.
Very sure. Well, number one for me goes to Mufasa. If you couldn't tell, by the way, I was talking about it at the very top of the show. It's Lion King. I feel like it's special to all of our hearts. That's for sure.
It is.
And it's probably the best Disney film of all time. Strictly Disney, I'm saying. And I just feel like, what they're going to be able to tell in this prequel, I think, is going to make it very interesting to see how we approach Scar and how we approach Scar leading into watching The Lion King again, because you're really going to sympathize with him. And I think you may be able to tell like where Scar went wrong. So yeah, I'm very curious and I'm very excited too, because the technology, even from the first Lion King live action to this one, you can already tell it looks different because the technology keeps evolving. So I'm very excited about that. But yeah, my number one, Mufasa.
It's so funny. So in Mufasa, they're going to be doing that inner child work. They're going to go back and where did they go wrong? Where in the childhood did they fuck up? They got to go back and heal and fix that shit.
Exactly.
And we're going to find out why. That's so funny, bro, because that really is the emphasis of the story. They're going back to the childhood and trying to figure out where it all went off track for Scar. So very interesting. Very interesting. My number one, I've said it all at the top of the show. I cannot be more excited for this. I am all in. I hope they continue this for many, many, many years until they're too old to be doing it and we have to CGI their old asses. Daredevil Born Again. He, in my opinion, on the TV side, was the RDJ of the MCU on the TV side. He could not have been a more perfect choice to be cast in the role of Matt Murdock / Daredevil. It was brilliant casting. Vincent D'Onofrio was brilliant casting as Kingpin. Karen with Deborah Ann Woll and Foggy with Eldon. They're all fucking Bernthal as... and please bring back Elektra. Please bring back Elektra. She's so good too. Anyway, I'm just really excited because this is probably... And let's be honest about it. The MCU's really good at it. But in my opinion, this is probably the most comic book accurate pull straight from the pages into reality that they've done. This is like reading a Daredevil comic book and straight from the page in. It's so spot on. And then yet somehow fits so real world. It's so grounded in reality that it works. And so, yeah, I'm really, really excited about it. And I'm glad that they figured the whole mess out with Netflix about getting the rights back. Because that would have sucked if we could have never continued these stories. Because that would have really sucked. Now if they could just figure out how to fucking jack Spider-Man back from Sony.
That's it.
They got Hulk back finally, right? Hulk they got the rights to Hulk again. Now they're talking about a solo Hulk movie and shit. It's just Spidey. Come on, Sony. Come on. It's just, what if we work out a deal and you just keep the villains and we just get Spidey back? I mean, come on.
Right.
Just fucking give us Spidey back, god damn it. Anyway, yeah, my number one, Daredevil Born Again, because who doesn't want to see Spider-Man in that? Street level, right. Them go, oh my god. There's so much potential for this series with other street level Marvel characters. That this story could go in so many different directions for so long, because Daredevil has played an integral role in so many different Marvel characters. So, right. A lot of people don't realize, but he has interacted with just so many of them. They just briefly touch on it with She-Hulk and like, but yeah, he's been all over the place with Marvel characters. So the potential there is just huge. So of course I'm excited about it. Of course I am.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Well, we want to know, what is your most anticipated project coming out of Disney? Please be sure to comment below in the comment section or at us on Threads or X or all the good places.
Yes.
So many good things, man.
So many
good things. Well, we're heading over to the box office recap. And man, oh man, of course, Deadpool and Wolverine dominated the box office again, but by 4 million. Only 4 million.
Yeah, it was close. It was close.
It was very close. Very close. They came in at number 1 with 54 million. And then It Ends With Us came in number 2 spot with 50 million. Twister's still hanging in strong with $15 million.
Hell yeah.
Number 4 was Borderlands. We talked about this one last week.
Will not be there next week. It will not be there next week.
Lionsgate does not care. They're already writing it off,
man.
Man. That's for sure.
It will not be in the top 5 next week.
It came in with $8.8 million, which was lower than projected. And Despicable Me 4 came in at $8 million, which has been out in theaters for a while now, and then still barely came in under Borderlands, which is absolutely crazy.
This is interesting because how long do you remember, just roughly, how long did Inside Out 2 stay at the top of the box office?
I think it was like a month, 3 weeks, a month.
Yeah, 3 weeks or a month, right? And then Deadpool took over, and it's been there for 3 weeks at the top. And now, in all likelihood, if it isn't Deadpool and Wolverine, which it could still be, we don't.
It could still be.
But Alien Romulus opens up, which is another Disney film. So we could potentially have Disney at the top of the box office for like 2 months straight, which is insane. They've already crossed the $1 billion mark. I mean, what 4 billion, something like that. Just massive amounts of money overall for the year so far at the box office, and they're just gonna continue to dominate, man. I mean, shit, they are killing it.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see because, like you said, new movies coming out. Alien Romulus is coming out. They're saying it's the scariest movie of the summer.
I'm excited for it. I'm probably going to go catch it this weekend. I am.
For sure. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it connects and resonates with the younger audiences that may not have seen the original films. I mean, Ridley Scott was on as a producer, so I mean, he was still heavily involved. So hopefully it does well. Deliverance is also coming out in select theaters near you, along with Crescent City, Consumed, and The King Tide.
Yeah.
So be sure to check out those in select theaters near you. But movies you could still go see: Cuckoo, Trap, Harold and the Purple Crayon, A Quiet Place Day One, and Bad Boys Ride or Die in select theaters near you.
I was just gonna say, I'm curious to see if the controversy affects the box office for It Ends With Us.
Right.
Because you would assume that this weekend it could potentially be Deadpool and Wolverine, Alien Romulus, It Ends With Us, or Alien Romulus, Deadpool and Wolverine, It Ends With Us. But will the shit cause It Ends With Us to drop? Will people stop going to see it? Will they not be interested in it anymore? I'm curious to see how it affects its top 5 performance because, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because this one, I mean, like Where the Crawdads Sing, it has potential to have legs. So,
it does.
I mean,
so
it'll
it's
be
going to be
interesting to see what happens. That's for sure. Well, heading over to the IMDbPro Top Trending segment. Of course, the top trending movie is still Deadpool and Wolverine. The top trending show is House of the Dragon. And then the top trending star is Emma Corrin from Deadpool and Wolverine. So it only makes sense, man.
That was odd, too. We don't normally see the same 3 week, back-to-back weeks. But, yeah, it didn't change from last week. It's like, nope, there they are.
There they are, man. There they are. Well, we want to thank you, everybody, for listening to this show, episode 268. Oh, man. Oh, man.
Yes.
You guys know you can follow us on social media. The company is at Crazy Ant Media. Our other podcast is at Everything's OKP. New episode coming out Wednesday. And then, of course, this podcast at ITCAFpodcast on all social media platforms. And then you both know, or you all know, I should say, you can follow us personally.
You both? What are you trying to say? No.
Yeah, exactly. Our 2 listeners. You can follow us on social media. Myself at JLoganAustin and
at Crazy Ant CEO.
There it is, man. There it is. And you guys know you can subscribe to this podcast anywhere you listen to your podcast. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Stitcher, and so much more. And then if you're watching on YouTube, we really appreciate that. Be sure to hit that like button below, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for all the latest and greatest notifications coming out of Crazy Ant Media.
Yes.
And then, of course, be sure to visit our website, www.crazyantmedia.com, where you can get to know us a little bit more.
Yeah.
Check out our Crazy Ant Media gear. Everything right now is 15% off, so be sure to check that out. And all the latest and greatest things that are also coming out of Crazy Ant Media. We're anywhere and everywhere, guys, so be sure to check us out.
It's true. And that upgrade, we're still in the process of the creative overhaul. We're like brainstorming ideas, and we're coming up with designs. And there's really going to be just a complete overhaul of the website, guys, to emphasize who we are as family. And how we run our company as a family business and why that's important to us in our content and everything that we do. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be really fun when we see that kind of like bounce around. I'm sure you've seen it, us emphasizing it more on our social media, and we've been talking about it. It's just something that it's really important to us, and it guides us in everything that we do, and so we want to put a real emphasis on letting everybody know that that's who we are. So we're super excited about that. And okay, thoughts. Let's hear it. Hit me up. Send me some DMs or whatever. I'm sure you guys have noticed that I've been kind of using my personal accounts a bit more now. Like for some reason, I don't know why. And I made them public. They used to be private, but now they're public. Do I merge them? Do I just merge them and only have one? And so to just make it easier for everybody, should I just, I don't know. Let me know in comments or send me an email or shoot me some I'm trying to figure it out. Should I stop doing 2 and just do 1 so you guys can just find me in one place all the time? And since we are going whole family branding, I mean, the whole point of the personal one was to keep shit personal, but I'm exposing more and more of my personal life in my business side. So I'm just like, should I just make it 1? Hit me up. Let me know. Just give me some thoughts.
Let him know, man. Let him know. Oh, my goodness. But, man, oh, man, this has been a great episode. Of course, covering all of D23. And, putting Warner Brothers and Paramount stories right next to each other, it really makes you realize.
Should we save Warner Brothers? Crazy Ant's going to buy up some stock. We're going to go see what we can do. We'll start accumulating Warner Brothers stock. We'll see what we can do. First decision, fire Zaslav.
Yes, please.
We've always saying how we want to expand into a studio. Well, maybe our goal is to save Warner Brothers. Like, fuck it, man. Let's just go. Let's go.
Right? Exactly. Oh, my goodness. It's crazy. It is
and you know who could help us? You know who could be our investor? You know who I'm talking about.
She could. The one. The only.
Oh, bro.